Hi guys, and welcome once again to the channel. For today's robotics video, I had a subscriber Katie ask in a previous video if it's possible to control a robot with a Xbox controller. Yes it is, and in this video I'll show you how to do that. So for this video I'm also going to use again my trusted little track robot that I've used in the previous videos. You can check them out, it's all on the channel, there's a playlist for it. And I'm also going to use a wired Logitech USB controller. This will emulate the functions of an Xbox controller. So grab your controller, let's get going. Moving the tank, I want to follow a World War I tanks control scheme. So in World War I, the tanks had two levers. If you press both the levers forward, the tank would move forward. If you engage one of the tracks, it would only move one of the tracks. The same I want to apply to this robot. So by pressing one of the analog sticks on the Logitech controller, I want to move one track only forward or backwards. So by pressing either the left or right of these little analog sticks, we're going to make the robot move forward and backwards. First off, we're going to create a new project, and then we need to add the functions for the Xbox controller. Now to get that functions, we're going to have to go all the way down on the left hand side over here where the block extensions are. I'm using the newest version 10.5 of the Mindstorms app, so it's gonna maybe look a bit different than yours. It's got these new blocks where it didn't have that before in the previous versions. And we scroll down all the way to where it's on the experimental side here. You'll see on the center one here, it's got an Xbox One controller. We're gonna enable that. There's also one for a PS4 controller. We're going to use the middle one because the Logitech emulates the Xbox One controller quite easily. Close out of that, and as you can see right at the top right hand corner, we now have a new icon just next to the hub icon where it says that there is now a controller detected. To get the controller functions and how to use the controller, we'll need to scroll down over on the node side over here, and you'll see right at the bottom here there's now a Xbox One node. If we click on that, it's going to give you all the commands that you can use with the controller. Now to start off, what I usually like to do is I like to set the speed for my robot. We're going to do that now first.
Creating the variable, we'll need to click on variables on the variable node on the left hand side. We click make variable. And this will just call speed percentage. Now we need to set an initial value for this variable. We'll drag out the set speed variable. And this we will just make the value of 10.
Now to be in control of the speed, we're going to have to change this total value in the variable that we've just created. We're going to use one of the buttons on the controller to do that with, and that's going to be the D-pad. Now the D-pad is controlled by this code over here. I'm going to drag that up to the main program. So it says when the D-pad is pressed up, something's going to happen. What is that something that we want to happen? So we want that to, as soon as we press up, we want this value to change. So we go back to the variable section over here, click on that, and you'll see there's a piece of code that says change. So we're going to drag that out and slot that directly below the D-pad. Now it says here change speed percentage by a certain amount. That certain amount is going to be 10. So when we press the D-pad up, it's going to add another 10 to the total speed. So the speed is going to become 20. Now it would also be nice to see what the current speed of the robot is. We can do that quite easily. Going over to the light node on the left hand side over here, there is a piece of code right over here that says right. We can drag right out and slot it in right below the change. Now it says right hello, but that's not what we want. We want to know what is the total speed over here. So we go back down onto the variables node, and there's a little code block over here that will fit into this code over here. So as soon as the D-pad is pushed, it's going to tell the program, right, the speed has to be increased by another 10, and it's going to show us on the screen of the brick what the total speed is. Now we also need to let the robot move slower. We can do that again by just pulling out another code for the D-pad, but this time we're going to change the code to when we press the button down. Same as with the top where we increase the speed, we're going to go change percentage of the speed again under the variable node. We're going to set the value over here to -10, so it's going to subtract 10 from the main value. And also we'd like to see what the total speed is for the robot at that point. So we drag out another right, go down to the variables again, and slot in another speed percentage piece of code in there. So now we have a way to increase the speed of the robot and also a way to decrease the speed of the robot. Now we need to tell the analog sticks what they will be doing in the whole process. So to do that, we're going to go down to the Xbox controller node again. Right at the top there's a piece of code that we can drag out. This is going to control the left analog stick. So this is now telling when the left analog stick is pressed up, we want something to happen. So what is it that we want to happen? So this is going to control the left side motor of the tracked robot that I showed you earlier in the video. So to do that, we're going to scroll up all the way to motors. And first we need to set the speed for the motor. Now remember, we've only told the program so far by how much the speed should be. This has nothing to do at what speed the motor is going to run at. To do that, we're going to need this code over here. So we need to first tell the motor you're going to run at that speed that has been set by pressing the D-pad. So we drag out this code, and this is for motor A, which is on the left hand side of the robot. And it says here currently the speed is 75%, but we know that's not true. We know we've set the speed by pressing the D-pad over here. So we're going to go down to the variable section once again, and we're going to drag out the small little variable over here, and it's going to slot right over here into that code. So now motor A knows that it's going to run at the speed that was set by pressing the D-pad button. And we also want the motor to move forward. Now, all depending on the orientation of your motors on your robot. For my specific robot, I'm going to use this code over here, and it's going to slot in right below the speed, and I'm going to run it to the left hand side. That's the orientation that I have currently set on my robot. Now we're going to need to do the same for the right hand analog stick that's going to control the right hand track of the robot. So we're going to go down to the Xbox One node again. We're going to drag out the same code. This time we're going to set it to the right hand analog stick. So when the right hand analog stick is pressed up, it's going to run the code below it. It's going to go up to the motors node again. We're going to drag out speed, and this is going to be the speed for motor number B. And we need to change this, but to change this we need to go to variables once again, drag out the variable, and now the variable is set to the speed that's being set by the D-pad. Go back to motors node again and say we're going to move the motor. Now this orientation for the motor is in the correct orientation, we just need to set it to the correct motor. And that takes care of getting the robot to move forward. But we don't just want the robot to move forward, we also want the robot to move backwards. So to do that, we're going to repeat the code once again. We're going to go down to the Xbox controller node, drag out the node for the analog stick again, but this time we're going to say when the left analog stick is pressed downwards, it's going to execute code again. So for this we're going to move the motors in a different way. So we're going to set the speed once again, But this time the motor is going to move in a different direction. As you can see here, I've got to move the robot forward on the A motor, it's running to the left hand side. Now to move it backwards, I'm going to run it to the right hand side. We're going to do the same for the other side of the robot also. Drag out the code for the right stick. We're going to change it to right, and we're going to change it to down. Go over to the motors node again. We're going to set the speed once again. There are easier ways that you can actually just copy the code over, but I'm just making it a bit easier for everyone to follow. It's going to be for motor number B. And we're going to start motor B. And because motor B is running to the right hand side, we're going to make it run to the left hand side, which is backwards. And that's it for moving the robot backwards. So what happens now is that if I press only the left analog button forward, it's only going to engage this part of the code. If I press it downwards, it's going to engage this part of the code. Same on the right hand side. If I press the right analog stick forward, it's going to engage the right hand side track, and it's going to move it to the back on this part of the code. As the code is now, the robot will keep on moving forward or backwards, all depending on the stick that you've pressed. So if the stick is in a neutral position, the robot is still going to move forward. So what we need to counter that is we're going to need to drag out 2 copies of this analog stick controls again, one for the left and one for the right stick. So what we want to do is, as soon as the stick is in a neutral position that it is not pressed, we want the robot to stop. So we're going to say when the stick is released on both of these sticks, we want the motors to stop. So we're going to go up all the way to the movement node over here, and there's code here that says stop moving. So we're going to drag that out and slot that into both of the analog stick code over here. So now when we let go of the stick, the robot's going to come to a stop on that motor. Also, to exit all of this code, we're going to need to press a button to stop the code. Otherwise the robot's gonna always be looking for something to do. Is it the button that you press on the controller? So the code's going to continually run. So to do that, we're going to go down to the Xbox One node again, and we're going to drag out this code over here. So this is for one of the 4 colored buttons that's on the Logitech controller that I have, and for that the B button that I have has got a red color to it. So I'm going to say the B button, as soon as it is pressed, I want that to exit this whole program. Now to exit the program, you're going to have to go to the control node, scroll down a bit, and there's a stop over here. I'm gonna drag out the stop and slot that into the button code over here, and we're going to say and exit program. So as soon as I press the B button on the controller, the whole program is going to exit. So now, can we run this code as is? Not quite yet. We still need to do a couple of steps. So for me, I've got my robot connected via Bluetooth to my laptop, and I've got my Logitech controller plugged into a USB port on one of the ports on the laptop. So to get this code to run via Bluetooth on the robot, you still first need to make a change over here. As it is here, it says the code is only going to be downloaded to the brick. What we want is we want the code to be streaming to the brick the whole time. So as soon as you press a button the whole time, it will stream the code. Every button that you press, it's going to stream it towards the brick and make the robot move. So as soon as you've got it into streaming mode, you can connect via Bluetooth to your robot and click on the play button, and let's see what happens.
If you try, you just might. weapons here, the sound of deafening fear.
And that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please drop me a like if you did. Please subscribe. There's some more videos coming to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.
No limit, I don't play no gimmicks. I'ma take it to